All right, so that was the Managing Director of Cow Bank PLC, Philip Oredu, on the MPC meeting that is going to get underway tomorrow and what he anticipates. Well, the Institute of Economic Affairs is projecting a 2 percentage point increment in the policy rate by the Bank of Ghana to a further 19%. This, it believes, will help narrow the gap with the rise in inflation and also ease, to some extent, the risk of foreign currency outflows. However, the move will increase the cost of living and doing business because lending rates will go up further, whilst money supply will reduce. Joining us on phone, Dr. John Kwache, who is Head of Research at the Institute of Economic Affairs. I'm grateful for your time this afternoon, sir. All eyes on the Monetary Policy Committee as they begin their meetings tomorrow. You have served on that committee before. What would be the key considerations as they meet to decide the policy rate amid rising inflation? Can you hear me, Dr. Kwache?
Yes.
Okay. So I was asking what the key considerations would be as the MPC prepares to meet tomorrow amid rising inflation. Did you hear me, Mr. Kwache? All right, I'm not too sure if Dr. Kwache heard me on the phone. We'll try and establish connection with him. But basically, as I've been pointing out, the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana is preparing to meet tomorrow. Why this is crucial is because inflation is rising, and we are hoping that the policy rate announcement will sort of ease consumer spending and also reduce the pressure that we have seen when it comes to inflation. I'm going to try one more time, see if we can hear from Dr. John Kwache. We are still trying to establish contact with him. So we'll move on to the next story, which has to do with the accountability for e-levy. The Ministry of Finance has revealed that government will publicly account for revenues accrued from the electronic transaction levy twice before the end of the year. Deputy Finance Minister Abnor Sasari says the first public accountability will be part of the mid-year budget review in July. We'll bring you that report in a bit, but I'm told that we have Dr. Kwache on the line now. Can you hear me, sir? Can you hear me, Dr. Kwache?
Yes.
All right. And so my question to you was that what would be the key considerations of the MPC as they prepare to meet tomorrow amid rising inflation?
Yeah, so as I stated in my statement, you know, the policy rate is currently at 17%. Inflation is at 23.46%. The gap is, you know, quite wide. So naturally, you know, the MPC should be considering moving the policy rate up. But you see, the gap is so wide that they cannot do it catch up in just one meeting. So I am proposing that you know, they should increase the policy rate by about 200 basis points at this meeting. You know, that should be the immediate response. And it is because, as I said, inflation is virtually, you know, running away. We are experiencing inflation the highest in 18 years. Of course, it's not only Ghana that is experiencing inflationary pressures all over the world because of COVID and then the Russia-Ukrainian war. But it looks like ours, you know, is quite excessive, and it caused lots of hardship, you know, in the economy. It to the extent that all goods, the price of goods and services have, you know, risen sharply. So now the first, you know, instrument or tool available to the central bank is a policy rate. You know, but I've also said that beyond that, they should also look at the sources, you know, the supply sources that are causing inflation. In other words, if you look at food, you know, the exchange rate, you know, transport, fuel, and, you know, engage with government, work with government to see how you can also mitigate the pressures coming from those sources so that you don't rely exclusively on the policy rate.
Right. And you have said that anything below the 200 basis point is a weak response from the central bank. We've seen that they increased it the previous meeting, but we are yet to see the impact. So how significantly will a further 2 percentage point increase help in easing inflation? How long before we see the results?
Yeah, that's always that's the question, because you don't know even how much impact that the adjustment is going to make. So even though they increased it by 2 basis points the last time, the effect has not been felt, yet. But the inflation is still on the rise, and the gap has, widened, and the markets are looking at it and saying, what is going to be the Bank of Ghana's, response? And that's also, one implication of the gap is that financial assets denominated in cedis, will become less attractive. And so there's a risk that, investors will start considering, moving their funds out of, investments in Ghana. So you see, when you move up the policy rate, other rates like the treasury bill rate will also respond and make, financial assets denominated in Ghana cedis more attractive. So your eye is on the inflation, your eye is also on the exchange rate. That is the kind of balancing act that you have to do.
My final question to you is, reading through your statement, you call for a comprehensive approach in easing inflation, and you say that what we decide on should be something that suits our economy. Can you explain further?
Yeah, inflation targeting is more suited to mature economies, where the supply side, they don't have serious supply side constraints. Mm-hmm. So in those economies, inflation is more of a demand phenomenon. It's driven more by demand. But when you come to our type of economies, there's a serious constraint on the supply side. So if you rely exclusively on an instrument that is more of a demand management instrument, you will not be entirely successful in addressing the inflation on a durable basis. So that's why I'm calling for a more comprehensive approach. I'm not saying dump the inflation targeting framework. I'm not saying dump it completely, but supplement it with other measures that attack or target the supply and cost sources of inflation in our type of economy. That's right. The point that I'm making.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. John Kwachi, Director of Research at the IEA. We continue to keep our eyes on the MPC meeting. Once it begins tomorrow, see the outcome in the course of 1 week. We'll hopefully hear whether they would agree with the IEA on increasing it by 200 basis points.